There are no casinos around here. Except for Resorts World.
Yes. You can play some pull tab slots. It's one of our very first blog posts was about that.
Really?
I think so.
About pull tab slots?
That was one of the 6 posts that were up 3 years before we started the podcast on our site that you wrote.
Oh, like the slots that are it's like bingo. It's not actually slots.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
I do remember that. People punching the machines. It's great.
Howdy. It's Thursday, February 1st, 2018, and this is episode 66 of Due for a Win, the Atlantic City and Casino Biz podcast. I'm Kyle Askin, joined, as always, by Craig Stone. What's good, Craig?
Ready to talk a lot of news and a trip report.
Not actually that much news. It's mostly trip stuff and kind of one last 2017 recap, I think.
Yeah, not an Atlantic City trip report. Let's just get out of the way right now. If you're yeah, these guys went to AC, no, we didn't go to AC.
We don't do that.
No, that's not something we do on the Atlantic City and Casino Biz podcast. We go to Baltimore, Maryland.
We have a shtick at this point, and it is not going to Atlantic City.
Yeah, I like it.
Actually, before we get into that, I actually do have a trip planned to Atlantic City.
What?
I know. I'm going on March 9th and 10th. Me and one of my buddies, Greg, who you know, because he was at my bachelor party, are going down to Atlantic City. So I have a question for you, Craig, and then I'll tell you what I did. Because you have no idea, really. I haven't told you anything about this trip yet.
No.
You obviously aren't going because you're going to have a 1 week old then or something.
Yes, it would be a little tough.
I shouldn't say obviously, but the plan is that you're not going.
Don't write me off yet, Kyle.
Right.
Yeah. No, I won't be there.
So my 2 comps that were available for Friday and Saturday night were Resorts and Tropicana.
Uh-huh.
And Tropicana, according to the website, I had West Tower, and Resorts, of course, there is no website. You just have to call and see if something's available.
Okay.
So what would you do bringing a friend from out of town in? Which of those 2 would you choose?
So you don't know what you're getting at Resorts?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I'm going on incomplete information. I mean, obviously I'm calling and finding out if I can get...
If you can get a Coral Suite?
Yeah, I mean, if it's Ocean, then that's just out. If it's base Ocean Tower unrenovated at Resorts, that's out. West is definitely better than that, even though it's the worst thing in Tropicana.
Mm-hmm.
I think... Ooh, it's tough. So this person has not spent a lot of time in Atlantic City?
Never been in his life.
Ah, boy.
This is one of my good friends from when I lived in Arizona. For the listeners. I know you know who he is.
Yeah, I don't know. That's tough because, I think the Trop, just as a whole experience, is much, much better than Resorts. I mean, I won't say better. It feels more Vegas-y and resorty than Resorts.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird to say something's more resorty than Resorts, but should be their tagline. More resorty than Resorts. Sounds
tautologically false, but
Tropicana.
Sure.
Go. We'll give you that one for free. But I personally prefer Resorts. I think any room above the base Ocean Tower room is going to be a very nice room. And there's something about the first casino kind of nostalgia. If he's somebody who just likes gambling and doesn't give a shit about the shopping and restaurants and whatnot, I would say go to Resorts and figure well, whatever, we'll just walk to Bally's, Caesars, Harrah's, and do all that stuff if we want to. If he really wants the experience, I think Tropicana is way, way up there. I mean, to me, probably second or third among AC casinos in terms of the full experience. It's just that the gambling sucks.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough. So is he more gambling focused, or is he more experience, resort, whatever focused?
I think gambling. is the safe thing to say.
Yeah, I mean, you can't beat the stand on soft 17, blackjack, low limit tables, lots of good slots. Is he a parrot head? Because that would be the deal.
I don't think so.
Because then the decision is easy. Yeah, that's an interesting two options. I mean, I'd say if it was like Caesars, then it's a no-brainer. You go to Caesars, right? If it's Borgata, it's a no-brainer. You go to Borgata. But
also, I actually had a bit like more choices than what I laid out. So I think I can get a comp at other places only for Friday. So there was some thought of like moving hotels and stuff, but that's not what I ended up doing just because I'm lazy.
Yeah,
there was some thought I'm like, I could get both rooms and then we could not stay together. But I figured they were a little bit kind of like too far apart and inconvenient. So
yeah, resorts and Trop, that's a little...
Yeah, it's a hike to get from one to the other, especially at 2 a.m. or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, if it's like you and me, whatever, we see each other regularly enough.
Right. Yeah, but
this guy coming in from Arizona or wherever he's coming from, that's not...
Yep.
That's not as cool. Yeah, I don't know. I personally would probably do Trop. If I was you, I would do resorts. How's that for an answer?
So, I mean, I guess you're half right. I did do resorts. And the thing, like the real kind of differentiator for me was that, like, here's my problem with Trop, especially with the West Tower, is it's like so loud.
Oh,
and like the clientele, like, you know, it's like all young kids and stuff, right?
Yes.
And like they just come in and make a lot of noise at 3 a.m. and resorts does not have that clientele at all. And that's kind of like what broke the tie for me.
Yeah.
Because I agree. Trop is a nicer property. And, you know, we'll certainly go down there and go to Bar Alon or something like that. But yeah, I ended up booking resorts, and I'm assuming that I could do $20 trick and get like a junior coral suite or something.
Yeah, so that's a good point. For one, like, it's not like you're not going to see Trop.
Right.
Not that it's necessarily a must-see thing, but, you know, you're going to sleep better at resorts. It's definitely true. And the two of you as gamblers are going to have a better time gambling up until 2 a.m. at resorts and just wandering up to your room than if you're ending the night at Trop, because you're not going to want to gamble.
It's a nicer place to be, in like I think in like on the gaming floor.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree completely.
Like
it's
nice.
It's a better place to gamble. Like, I don't think
is.
there's any, you know, unless you're just purely a slot player. I don't think there's any argument for Tropicana over.
Going to Trop, I think, is nice, but it's not the place I want to end my night.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I think that's a good call.
Anyway, I do have a trip planned for early March.
Nice.
To AC, so, and just I will be visiting you beforehand too, because I'm seeing your new baby.
Yeah. So how does that work? Hoboken
very exciting. Yeah. So he's in Hoboken the whole week for a conference or something.
Oh, nice. Okay, so that's very convenient.
Right. So I'm like, I know someone in Hoboken, and I have excuse to visit. So like, there's a reason to visit. So
it's gonna be very sad. Very sad.
And then I'm dropping him off at Philadelphia at the airport in Philly to fly back afterwards.
Yeah, that works well. I mean, I'm going to be like, oh, you guys are going to AC. I'm sitting here with, like, baby spitting up on me.
Yeah.
A toddler running around like a crazy person.
I'll make room in my car for you.
Yeah. My wife would be like, no. You do not make room.
All right. So anyway, speaking of gambling, we went to Horseshoe this weekend. You want to talk a little bit about it? Yes, the Baltimore Horseshoe.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of, lack of planning that finally ended up with us going to Horseshoe as a group. And I don't know. I mean, any general thoughts on Horseshoe? I think we've talked about it one time before when we went just for a couple hours. This time we spent, a solid 4 hours or so at Horseshoe. It's a decent amount of time.
So, I mean, I think we'll talk a little bit more about Horseshoe in a little bit. It's a very nice casino, and there will be more to say about that. But just before we really start, I think that the one thing I want to point out is we need to have like an intervention for you, Craig.
About what?
So on the last episode, you said that your New Year's resolution in gambling is to branch out a little bit, try some things that you haven't done before. Have some fun, play some carnival games. And so the people who were there were me and Craig's brother, and then 4 of our other friends. So there were 5 of us sitting around. I believe a 6-top Ultimate Texas Hold'em game playing. So it was me, our 4 other friends were doing that, and kind of Paul and Craig were behind us. Paul is Craig's brother, watching. And then you left to go play Wonka slots instead, and then you came back, and then you left to go to the Diamond Lounge instead. So I just want to say that you did an especially bad job of trying to follow your New Year's resolution.
So I will hat tip to listener Mike on this, who actually, before we even went to Horseshoe, was talking up Ultimate Texas Hold'em. And I feel bad that I didn't play, except that, he was explaining the difference between a $5 table and a $10 table, which, it's twice as much, in case you haven't done the math. But so at a $5 table, which you can usually find apparently at Bally's in Atlantic City, the most you can ever have on the table is, what, $30?
$30, yeah.
And so at a $10 table, you're talking about $60 if you're doing the 4 times raise.
If you bet pre-flop, it's 60 on the table.
Yeah. So should we do a quick Ultimate Texas Hold'em rules rundown, or is that?
Sure, I can do that really quickly. Yeah. So if you haven't played it, it's basically just Texas Hold'em, where you're facing off against the dealer, much like a game like 3-card poker, 4-card poker. You start with 2 bets out on the table. In this case, they're like the anti-bet and the blind bet or something.
Yeah.
And so what happens is you get your 2 whole cards and you look at them. And at that point, you can choose to bet or check. If you bet, you can either make 3 or 4 times your anti-bet as your bet. But if you're going to bet, you should always bet 4 times. It's like in 4-card poker, you can bet 1, 2, or 3 times, but you should never bet 2 because there's no reason to. You should only ever bet 1 or 3. It's the same thing. You should either check or bet 4 times then.
Right. If your hand's good enough to bet 3, it's good enough to bet 4.
Correct. So you look at your cards. If they're good enough pre-flop, which basically means I think it's essentially any ace, a lot of kings, queen 10, queen jack, jack 10 more or less. There's a couple others, and all pocket pairs except 2s, essentially. Yes. Mm-hmm. You're supposed to bet pre-flop, and then you just put your money out, and then the game happens, and you either beat the dealer or not. So there's a flop, just like in Texas Hold'em, and then you can bet at that point too, or check. And if you bet, it's double your anti-bet, which would be $20 on a $10 table.
Right. Except you can only bet once. So if you've already bet 4 times, you can't bet again. You're
correct.
Done. Yeah.
Once you've bet, you're in, and you're done playing until after the hand. So if you bet after the flop, you put in 20, and then there's the turn in the river is kind of like one street in this game, and then you can either match your anti-bet or fold at that point. So, and then essentially, if you have a better hand, you win. And, if you have an actually good hand, like 3 of a kind and above, you get a bunch of money on your blind bet as well. I think it's like 2.5% house edge. So it's fairly low house edge for a carnival game. Yeah. We had a pretty good time playing it. I think it was fine. I'd play it again. I lost a bunch of money in it, but it was fine. I mean, it was fun.
So the $60 a hand scared me off. Like, I would very much prefer to play $5 a hand, $5 minimum.
I mean, we had friends there who are not big gamblers at all, and they were playing.
That's true.
Like, you're a much bigger gambler than a couple of our friends that were playing.
Yeah. I don't know. I wanted to play, but I knew that $5 tables are a thing, so it's hard to be like, I could sit at this $10 table. I don't know. I'm weird about that. But I'll say the thing that interests me about Ultimate Texas Hold'em, and this is going to go against me saying that I didn't want to play at the $10 table, is that everybody takes time to make decisions, so it slows the game down considerably, which if you know anything about me, I like it when the game slows down. So that is right up my alley, but the concern of having, $60 out there, which really doesn't happen, all that often.
I mean, it's not infrequent either.
Yeah, but it's not like half the time or even close. So how was your Texas Hold'em experience?
I just wanted to say you had one resolution and you failed miserably in your first opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. 0 for 1. And maybe, first and only opportunity potentially if...
Yeah, depending on UTH situation at Atlantic City.
Yeah, or my situation with ability to get to casinos the rest of the
year. You don't think you're going to be in Atlantic City at all this year?
I think I'll make it at least once.
Well, we'll talk more about that later. But yeah, I think it's just the situation wasn't perfect, so you didn't do it. And I thought that was what you were trying to get out of the habit of.
It is, and yet here we are.
Bad job, Craig.
Yeah. No, I'll take the whatever you call lashings about that. Yeah. I mean, didn't follow through. I feel bad.
So, all right, let's kind of
move on. More trip report.
Talk about everything else. So what did you think of Horseshoe?
So I really like Horseshoe. It's funny because I said to you at one point, like, oh, if it looks like they could redo Caesars to look like that, like the coloring and everything and the decor is sort of similar but newer at Horseshoe as to Caesars in Atlantic City. And so I was like, it would really like be clearly the second best casino in AC at that point, to which you responded, it is. Well,
Caesars is already the second best casino in AC, so.
Right. But
of course, if they made it nicer, it would be the second best casino.
Right. But I mean, it would be like, it is sort of looking at it with the way they've done the casino layout and the chandeliers and everything, and just general cleanliness and newness. It does sort of feel like, oh, they could do this in Atlantic City without too much of an overhaul. That would require some sort of capital expenditures in Caesars property, which they haven't put much money into. But I do really like the property. I like the layout, the sort of 2-floor layout. I actually really like. I get frustrated that you can't get free drinks, although the beer is cheaper than I would have expected, which is not to say it's cheap, but I think like craft beers for like $5. It's not too bad.
Yeah, it's like bar prices and not stadium prices, which is nice.
It's like Baltimore bar prices and not stadium prices.
Okay, yeah, not New York bar prices.
No.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think it was like $4.50 beers and $8 cocktails, or $5 beers and $7.50 cocktails, something like that. So I mean, the $7.50, $8 cocktails, like that's not bad at all. Mm-hmm. At least compared to what I'm used to. So I don't know. It's a good time. I like like I said, I like the layout. It seems like they've got good food options. We'll sort of touch on one of those in the future. Not that we ate there, but it's relevant to something going on in Atlantic City. I've never eaten it anywhere in the Horseshoe.
Really?
They've got a Guy's barbecue joint. They've got a Gordon Ramsay place. They've got Guy's Baltimore, whatever. That's probably very similar to.
Yeah, so the 3 real restaurants in there are Gordon Ramsay Steak, Johnny Sanchez.
Johnny Sanchez is closed, right?
Is it?
Yeah, I thought that got replaced by Gordon Ramsay Steak.
No. The old steakhouse got replaced by Gordon Ramsay Steak. I walked by Johnny Sanchez. It was closed when I walked by it, but it was also midnight or something. So, I mean, it wasn't replaced by anything.
I think it's gone.
The old steakhouse was replaced by Gordon Ramsay Steak.
Well, Johnny Sanchez is permanently closed. I don't know what's... Oh, Giotto de Laurentiis is replacing it in Baltimore. I knew that.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyways.
And the third real restaurant is the Guy Fieri's American Grill or whatever.
Yeah, Baltimore Grill.
And then they also have a food court with like 6 options or something. And all the options are actually pretty decent. All the options I've had anyway.
Yeah, food court looks fine. They've got a big bar downstairs, like a big circular bar. Looks pretty cool. Not that I'm going to go there and sit around at a bar, because Baltimore's a great drinking city. So if I'm just going to go sit at a bar, I'll go someplace in Baltimore. Mm-hmm. So what else did we do? We talked about my lack of Ultimate Texas Hold'em.
Yeah.
I went and played really shitty video poker instead.
I don't know. I played a lot of tiles by myself for a long time.
Yeah. I played a lot of Pai Gow poker with our friend Dave. $25 Pai Gow poker, which, that's what you're going to get in AC, so that's totally fine. Which is probably why I opted for that over $10 Ultimate Texas Hold'em. How'd you make out?
I was up in tiles.
Nice. How about everything else?
Everything else wasn't as good, but I played tiles for a few hours after that. By the time I was done, basically, I think everyone had left except for me and you, and I was driving you home. So you were like still playing Pai Gow poker, and I was like, all right, I'll go play. All right, so I guess to set the table for this, so I wanted to play blackjack. All of the blackjack and horseshoe now, except for 6 or 8 tables, is now 6 to 5, which I won't play on principle. And all this 3 to 2 tables were $50. So I was doing fine at that point. So I was like, all right, I'll sit down. I'll play some 3 to 2. We'll see how it goes. So basically I lost $400 in like 10 minutes there. And then I was like, all right, I'm done. Woof. So then I went, I mean, it was, I knew what the risks were.
Wow. Yeah.
I recognize that as a not very unlikely option at all. So
yeah.
Took a chance, got burned, and was like, oh, well, okay. So then I went back to you, and then we left.
Yeah, so I mean, I spent most of my time playing Paiga poker. I played a little bit of Deuce's Wild Video Poker with a terrible pay table. I think it was like 97% expected return, which is not particularly good for video poker. Played some crappy slots that I didn't actually find that fun. There is worth mentioning. I did win $23, I think. So suck on that, Horseshoe. I don't know how you're going to recover. Worth mentioning. There's some new games at Horseshoe. Crisscross Poker, which got mentioned in You Can Bet on That a couple episodes ago. I looked at it. It looked incredibly confusing. You're betting on a cross hand, a down hand. I don't know. I watched it for a little bit, and I was like, it seems like you have to make a bunch of bets. Like, people just had tons of chips out for every bet. And so I saw at one point, like, there are 5 separate places, I guess, where you can bet. People had, like, 5 stacks out, and everybody on the table lost, and it was just, like, a ton of chips going in toward the dealer. And it's like, oof, that doesn't look like my kind of thing at all.
Nothing's as good, though, when everyone loses as roulette, where they just pull all of the chips into like a big hole in the table.
Yeah. I mean, craps is similar when somebody sevens out. There's
something about actually just having a pit that they pull the chips into that makes it better.
Yeah. So another game, I didn't see this, although apparently it's there. It's called 3-Card Baccarat. I'm not really clear on what that is, but it's there. I didn't see it, so I didn't see the rules. And then there's a new game that they only had one table, and nobody was at the entire time. It was called Top 5 Poker. So I picked up the little brochure, and I read about it. It seemed kind of interesting, except the more I read about it, the more I felt like it was probably really bad for the player. It's similar to other poker games. It's like you have an ante and a standard wager. Or no, the ante's standard wager and then optional bonus bets. So there are 2 bonus bets. One's like a top 5 that pays out some amount based on the number of ace through 10 cards in your hand. And then there's a top 5 poker bonus that pays on the ranking of the top 5 cards in your hand. So those are the 2 bonuses. So it's already getting confusing. Everybody gets 7 cards. You're basically making the best hand you can out of 5 cards, but after you see your own cards, you have to bet a play bet. So, like, one time you're anti-bet or you fold. And then after that, the dealer reveals their 7-card hands. They have to qualify with queen, jack, or better. If they don't qualify, everybody else pushes, except for, the bonus bets. And wins are paid even money on the ante and play bets on qualifying hands, and then the bonus bets are some multiplier based on that. So just reading about like what qualifies, it seems interesting, although I feel like Paiga poker sounds similar and more straightforward. So I don't know. I looked at it. Our friend Craig and I looked at it and thought about sitting down, and then as we were reading the rules, we're like, okay, yeah, no. Like, it seems like it's very bonus bet heavy with the 2 bonus bets, so we decided not to play. But that is a new game. There's nothing up as of last check on Wizard of Odds or anything explaining anything about it, but I don't know. Any interest on this thing that I probably butchered the explanation of?
Yeah, I'd have to look at it.
I'll link to it in the show notes if I remember, but it didn't seem like it was up my alley. It seemed like worse than 3-Card Poker. So, But that's there. Any other Horseshoe thoughts before we move on to actual news?
Yeah, had a good time.
I do enjoy the Horseshoe. I had fun. Oh, I did go to the Diamond Lounge, which was not crowded at all, because why would you go to the Diamond Lounge when
they can't give out beer?
Yeah, so I thought maybe there would be discounted beer and drinks in there. There's not. So
I thought there was.
No, not when I went.
I feel like the beer was cheaper when I went in the Diamond Lounge, but I don't know.
There wasn't on that Saturday night. So,
but yeah, certainly it is not allowed for them to give out beer.
Yeah, so they have some more like top shelf stuff. So, if you want really expensive scotch or whatever, they have that there, which they're not going to just have in the casino bar. But
which Paul does want.
Yes, so he did order a $35 shot of scotch, but they have a sign up as you walk in that says all patrons must have Diamond ID and photo ID, like, for admittance. But there's nobody there actually checking. And
right.
Because, really, once you walk in, it's like, why would they? It's not all that crowded. They're not giving away any food or anything for free. It's effectively just a bar. So it's a nice space.
There's no food either?
I think there is sometimes. Sometimes there's like finger foods or whatever, but there wasn't when I was there.
I've been there when there was, at the very least, at least they had nuts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they will give you nuts. If you sit down and order a drink at the bar, they will give you like a cup full of nuts.
There you go.
Yeah. That's what you get Diamond for.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to mark
peanuts.
Yeah, mark those nuts in my little sheet saying what value I got for my Diamond status, but
well, you have to value them and
yeah. Well, I didn't actually
get $1 profit in your spreadsheet.
I didn't even get the cup of nuts because we actually sat over in the couches. It's a nice space, but there's just not really any reason to go there unless you're trying to relax and not gamble. But for me, I may need time to relax and not gamble when I'm in Atlantic City for a night or two. But when I'm only at the Horseshoe for 4 hours, I don't really need that time.
Yeah.
Last thoughts? I think that's a good wrap up for the Horseshoe.
No, we had a good time. It was nice to hang out with everyone at the Horseshoe.
Yeah, and by hang out with everyone, you mean sit alone and play
Pai tiles by myself. I was not alone. That table was quite crowded.
Yeah, quite crowded with people who are not our friends who came.
With people who do not speak English. I do have to say that wasn't a table you probably would have sat at, I think. Especially alone.
No.
I know it intimidates you, and that table certainly would have intimidated you.
Yeah, probably.
I have, I guess, 2 more gripes, or maybe 3 more gripes, though minor. One thing is I played a little bit of video poker, Jacks Are Better, and it was 8 to 5.
You found 8 to 5?
Yeah, there's 8 to 5, but the 8 to 5 is $25 per tier credit. 8 to 5,
yeah.
Craig.
Yeah, I saw 7 to 5 anywhere. I didn't even see 8 to 5.
Which is pretty crappy.
Yeah, it's awful. The video poker there is horrendous.
There used to be... So the 8 to 5 is where the 9 to 6 used to be, but it went away a few years ago.
Yeah.
But they did not remove the stickers, making it $25 per tier credit. So there's that. Craps is always just insane at all of the Maryland casinos. Like it's very hard to get on a table almost anywhere. So because I wanted to do that instead of playing blackjack while you were finishing out your Pai Gow poker run, but it was just all the tables are too crowded.
Yeah, my brother and I walked by a couple times trying to get on a craps table, and there was I think the only table that had openings was $50. And
that's probably right.
Empty, totally empty. And then there was, it was the Diamond table. It was the Diamond 7 Stars exclusive table.
Mm-hmm.
Was $50 limit and was $50 minimum open. And it's like, do you really need it to be Diamond 7 Stars exclusive if it's going to be $50? Like, just make it open to everybody, because how many people are really playing $50 craps?
I bet it would have been pretty crowded if it was open to everyone.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't see any other $50 tables, but
so
the $25 and 15 were packed.
I didn't even see a 15.
I saw one, and it was packed with a line with stacks of people behind it waiting to get on.
Yeah. So, yeah, I definitely saw. So there's video poker, there's craps, and I think there was one more thing I wanted to say, but I don't remember anymore. But if I remember, I'll bring it back up.
Well, you mentioned 6 to 5 blackjack. That was garbage.
Yeah, the blackjack. It sucks that it seems like all of the casinos, well, not all of the casinos, the 3 big casinos in Maryland seem to basically have exclusively 6 to 5 blackjack at reasonable limits, and then maybe $25 during non-prime times, and on Saturday nights, like $50 minimum if you want to play 3 to 2. Because that's what Maryland Live was like. That's what I've been to MGM, and it was like that. So it sucks that they changed the law to let them do that.
Yeah, reason to go to.
I mean, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't suck that they changed the law, but it sucks that that is what the situation is now.
Yeah, that's why Atlantic City is so much better.
Indeed.
Should we talk data, numbers, hard numbers? So
we mentioned last episode that we were still awaiting results for the 2017 final gaming revenue data, and we got that now. So I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. So I think the top level stuff to take away from it is it was a pretty solid year for Atlantic City. The really surprising thing, I know I mentioned last episode that I thought all the casinos were going to be up year over year except for Bally's. Bally's actually had like a pretty strong December for them, so they are actually slightly up as well. So every casino was up year over year. And not only that, despite losing $125 million of revenue from the Taj closing, the town as a whole was actually up in in brick and mortar gaming revenue as well.
Yeah, so we're only focusing on brick and mortar here. I know that there was a lot of talk, if you read some of the, like AP articles and stuff about it, it's very rah-rah about online gambling.
Right.
We tend to focus on brick and mortar just because that's more about the health of the resort as a whole rather than about, how casino companies are doing. So I think, brick and mortar, we both have said in the past, is like a much better indicator of how well Atlantic City's doing than incorporating the online into it. So we kind of strip that out and go on that. Bally's ended up 0.15% because of a solid December. Otherwise, they would have been down for the year. So
yes,
everybody was up.
Yeah, I mean, I think sorry if I cut you off. The macro thing to talk about here is, there was like year after year of 7-8% declines. And then the last 2 years, Atlantic City's been basically flat, which I think is pretty good, especially considering the closures. So, I think it kind of backs up the idea that the city's turning around a little bit. So go ahead. Sorry.
No, I didn't really have anywhere else to go.
Okay.
I thought, just some of the big winners, Tropicana was up 14.5%. Resorts was up over 10%. So, those are the two big double-digit gainers. Harrah's was fairly stagnant, and then everybody else did pretty well. I mean, Borgata only gained 4%, but when you're starting so high, you only have so far to go but up. But
yeah, Borgata probably. I mean, our spreadsheet that we actually kind of curate ourselves and do only goes back to 2012, but Borgata looks like they had kind of by far the best year of any casino, and at least in the last 6 years or 5 years in Atlantic City, but possibly ever.
Yeah, and so they more than doubled the gaming revenue of the next highest, which I think was Harrah's. So they had $755 million in 2017. Harrah's at $363. So Borgata just making loads and loads.
Slain. Yeah.
Which is that's been true for a while, but I don't think it's been double. No, it was double last year too. So, yeah, they've just been killing, but they made $30 million more than last year, so they did really well. But yeah, like I said, Tropicana, put money into the property, big gains. Harrah's put a bunch of money into the property and only went up 1.5%. So
yeah, that's you have to think that Harrah's is kind of like a huge disappointment.
Yeah, although
you're out of like all the properties, like they're the ones that, because Bally's they put no money into, so it's not surprising that they're not growing. But Harrah's only being up 1% and being down last year almost 5%. I mean, that's really surprising. And I would think if you're like on the board of CET, like or a CET shareholder, like very disappointing.
Although, I mean, Tropicana's renovations have really hit every aspect of the property: casino floor, rooms, shopping, everything. Harrah's has been mostly conference center. So, you'd think that it would drive revenue to the casino because getting more conference attendees there is going to also bring more people in to gamble in typically non-gambling times. But like a conference center in itself, like if you're in a conference all day, you are not at the casino. So I don't know that you'd expect giant gains necessarily. I would say 1.5% is probably disappointing, but if they're making a bunch of money on conference fees and, catering conferences just costs a shit ton of money, like I'm sure they make a bunch of money on that. So,
true.
Yeah. So, this may not tell the whole picture of what Harrah's was hoping to get out of the renovations, but yeah, I would have thought that they were thinking that this would drive some sort of whatever you want to call it, like residual revenue to the gambling to the casino more than what they saw.
I mean, and we can see like the overall financial numbers. I think I don't believe them to be out yet, but they'll probably be out sometime in the next month for
I think 2017.
Yeah,
I think they come out later. I think a couple months into the year. So it's February now, so it should be not too long.
Right.
Any other thoughts on the big numbers? I think we have some going forward questions that are worth talking about, but anything looking back at 2017?
No, it's good both that all of the properties at least didn't make less money than they did last year, and that Atlantic City as a whole also didn't make less money than it did last year, especially given the closure of the Taj. I mean, one whole less casino is a pretty big deal, and they managed to overcome it.
Yeah, I think that's really important to mention, because I think a lot of times everybody gets focused on the individual casino year-over-year numbers, but in reality, for Atlantic City as a whole, even though it's 0.3%, but to even retain all of its gambling revenue when it loses a casino is important, because it means it would be very easy to just say, oh, well, yeah, of course everybody made more money. There's one less casino. It's 7 casinos competing for that revenue instead of 8. But the fact that none of the revenue left town is a good thing, especially if you're hoping to open a casino in May or June or July, and hoping that those numbers might go up. So I think that's worth mentioning.
Yeah. So I mean, I think just looking at the numbers, it does look like the absolute low point for Atlantic City was probably 2015. And 2016 was fairly stable, and 2017 again was fairly stable. So I expect it to start going up next year. I expect an actual increase when we're talking about this in a year from now.
So we talked in the Best of 2017 episode about growing the pie, because we've got 2 new casinos coming in, Hard Rock and Ocean, both slated for summer of 2018, and we'd sort of talked in generalizations, but not really necessarily about what specifically would need to happen, or even like what it would look like for both of these to be successful. And one of the things that I was sort of wondering is, like, we were saying, yeah, we could see, or I think you were more optimistic than I was, of, we could see the whole pie growing enough that all the existing casinos still see revenue gains, or at least, keep the money that they're making, and the new casinos come in and make money. So I think my first question for you is, like, what would that mean in terms of gains? Like, we're seeing this 0.3% gain this year, which I think worked out to something like $7 million or something. It's not a huge number. So, for 2 new casinos to come in and be successful, you're going to need to see a way bigger market-wide gain than that, right? So, like, what kind of gain do you think is necessary to sustain that in 2018?
Well, I don't think every casino is going to go up next year. I would hope, and we're only talking about like 6 months of the year next year that are going to have 2 extra. It's not going to be the whole year or anything like that. I would hope that there's a 5% increase next year in the gaming revenue for the city.
So that would be what, something like.
So like let's look back. Let's look back real quick. So 2012 was the first year that we had our spreadsheet. So 2013 there was a little bit over a 6% loss in the terms of gaming revenue overall. 2014 there was 8.5% loss. 2015 there was almost an 8% loss, and then 2016 and 2017, like I said, were essentially flat. So in terms of downside, certainly we've seen as high as 8.5%. So I think for me, for me to say like the city is really starting to come back and doing well, I mean, I would want a 5% increase.
So I don't know if I've done the math right in my head here. Maybe you can do better. So, they got $2.4 billion this year in gambling revenue. So 5% would be something like what, 100 million?
Yeah, 120 million. Yes.
Yeah. So they gained 7 million this year. So to get that 120 million, do you think just that is the draw of the two new casinos, or do you think we're seeing an upswing in?
Of course, both of the new casinos individually, I think, will do over 120 million in the 6 months that they're open.
Really?
I assume so. I mean, so the lowest amount of dollars brought in 2017 was by resorts by a fairly reasonable margin, and that was a $190 million casino. So that's like $100 million per 6 months, and Hard Rock and Ocean should be able to beat that. At least Hard Rock, I think, should be able to beat that. Ocean,
yeah, that's a good point.
The jury's still out on.
So you don't think it cannibalizes enough of the rest of the market that? I mean, you said if you are hoping that it goes up 5%, that should leave enough room that other casinos are not completely crushed by this. I mean, my concern obviously is that they come in and, all of a sudden resorts, Bally's, I think those are the big two, start really feeling the squeeze. I mean, I would argue maybe Tropicana, but
I think that if I'm looking for casinos I think are going to lose money next year, or not lose money, but make less money than they made this year, or make less revenue than they made this year, I think Bally's is almost certainly a lock. I'll be shocked if they manage to be flat or gain. I think Harrah's is very likely to not make more money than they made this year. I'm really interested to see, with both of these properties coming in, should in theory attack the high end. I wonder what it's going to do to Borgata and Caesars too. I don't know if it ends up affecting people like Resorts or Golden Nugget all that much. And honestly, with both of them opening up literally right next to Resorts, I wonder, I think there's an argument that it might end up helping them a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, right now they're on an island. I mean, they're all on an island, but right now they're way up there. Sort of
they're
on
by
their
themselves.
Own. Yeah, with
they're going to have
non-casino showboat up there.
And that's certainly not bringing any people in.
Yeah, I really wanted to stay at Showboat, but it was booked, so I ended up at Resorts.
I mean,
that's been said.
So to be clear, I don't know if Resorts is gonna. I wouldn't expect them to have another 10% gain or anything like that, but I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't lose money.
Yeah.
Or didn't make less money in 2018 than they made in 2017.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point. I think, I definitely think there's reason for optimism for the market as a whole. And I think, I think there are some people who talk about it as a foregone conclusion that, 2.5 billion or so, that's what the market can bear. And I don't think it's as foregone a conclusion as that. I don't think it's a given that if there was another casino property here in 2017, that it would just be dividing up this 2.4 something billion number and not have actually gained, actually grown the pie. And especially if it was something like a unique thing like a Hard Rock or Ocean that comes in and has a real hook to it. And I think that's the big reason to be optimistic about, especially Hard Rock, because they've got the ultimate hook of live music all the time. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see just what happens with that. The other thing we had mentioned, or at least I had mentioned, was sort of wondering if 2018 we sort of see generally, everybody does what they did this year, or maybe a little better, and the new casinos come in and bring in some more money. But if the real shift happens in 2019 or 2020, and my brother sort of asked me to clarify that, and I think it is worth clarifying. Why would it take 2 years or a year to sort of settle and figure out, if Bally's can hang when Hard Rock and Ocean are first opening and should be sucking all the air out of the room and dominating all the attention, why would then in 2019 or 2020 it go bad for them? So I don't know if you have thought on that before I sort of give my explanation.
I mean, I think just it takes a little while for things to settle in. I mean, I think right when these properties first open, at least when Hard Rock first opens, I expect there to be like a huge bump for them. Everyone's going to want to check it out and see what it's all about. And I think it could end up impacting places a lot, but I don't think, not everyone's going to get out there for a little while. I mean, I think it just takes time for the market to get settled, for people to figure out where they like and where they want to go. And, anytime there's this big upheaval happening when you open and or close properties.
Yeah, I mean, I think that pretty much sums up my feeling. And also, it takes people a little while to sort of get out of the ecosystem. Like if you're Diamond at Caesars for the rest of the year, like you're probably going to still hang at Caesars even if you're scoping out the other places. So then maybe in 2019, you're sort of going somewhere else. The other thing is, Hard Rock and Ocean are going to be able to command higher prices, presumably when they first open. Once they sort of get into more steady or sort of more standard long-term operation in Atlantic City, you'd expect the room rates to come down, and then they're more competing with the existing customers rather than just drawing in new customers who are excited to come see this new thing. And so I think that's part of it. Like, it's the excitement of the newness. Like maybe that drives a bunch of new people to Atlantic City, and that helps everybody for a few months. And then once that dies down, year two, if Hard Rock has to start giving discounted rooms, and all of a sudden, the price point is not that much higher than other places in the city, then all of a sudden people who were just sticking with Bally's or sticking with resorts or whatever it was because that was where they could get the free room are now looking at like, oh, well, now there's a real value proposition to spending a little bit to go to one of the new places, or maybe they can actually get a comp room at one of the new places. So I think it does take a little while to settle down. Obviously, how it plays out, we sort of have no idea. This is just my own assumptions. But I do think the market needs, a year or 2 years to sort of right itself before we really have a clear understanding of what happens. I don't think it's just going to be like Hard Rock opens, Bally's is dead. Like, boom, Bally's just like all of a sudden everybody's like left Bally's in the dust and they can't deal with it anymore. But we'll see.
So what do you think is going to be kind of the top performer of 2018 and who's going to be the worst performer of 2018?
I mean, so is it worth just focusing on post Ocean Hard Rock? I mean, I think Borgata's still the top performer.
Well, okay. I mean, in terms of like how they did compared to 2017. Obviously Borgata will make the most money or will make the most revenue in 2018. That I don't think is a question.
I think that there is a lot of room to go at Borgata. And if Ocean and Hard Rock both open and go at Borgata, I think Borgata could see a big dip in their revenue. Still making plenty of money and still will be totally fine, but I could see that being an easier place to go get money than, say, trying to get people from resorts. So I could see them actually being the biggest percentage drop just because, like year over year percentage revenue drop, just because of, they have such a big portion of the pie now that it's a place to go, and both of them are coming for it. Like both of them are coming for the high end, like you said. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. I think Tropicana, just because of the way they've gained lately, I think is a little susceptible. Because I don't know that there's anything at Tropicana that makes people fiercely loyal to it, other than Chickies and Pete's. But yeah, I don't know. I would guess Borgata is probably going to be the biggest percentage, like year over year hit, like take the biggest hit with those two opening. And then winners, I mean, I would think that one of the two new ones, obviously, but if you're talking about
yes, Infinity% would make them the highest winner, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like who's existing, who would do better, it's a good question. I mean, I think you're onto something with resorts, just because it will bring a ton of people up there, and it's not like there's nothing to draw you to resorts. Like there's going to be good gambling there. There's, if you're a parrot head, there's that stuff. There's Margaritaville. There's decent restaurants there. It's not like there's no reason to go there. So if there are a bunch of people going up to that end of the boardwalk, I could see a bunch of people finding their way into resorts and them seeing some real gains.
So I think I'm going to... So here's the thing with Borgata, right? It's possible that they do end up having a pretty disappointing 2018, but at the end of the day, if that happens, I don't know how much of that's going to be on Hard Rock and Ocean. I think it's more likely that it's going to be because of
MGM.
People getting PO'd at MGM and like that having some blowback, and the fact maybe that there's also going to be some real competition in the high end.
Right, but I mean, those things don't happen on their own. Like, yes, people might be getting frustrated with MGM and Borgata, but right now there's nothing to leave to, really. Like, if you want the nicest restaurants, the nicest casino, the nicest rooms, you still kind of have to go to Borgata. I mean, you still do have to go to Borgata. So, if Hard Rock opens, and especially Ocean, I mean, if Ocean opens and is run well and has a good casino and everything, people who are frustrated with M Life and frustrated with MGM are going to have a very, very luxurious competitor to look at. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I'm not disagreeing. I'm not saying that, it's just because these things are open. But yeah, I definitely think there's already sort of dissatisfaction with M Life. Mm-hmm. But maybe that's just that we sort of hear the vocal few.
And I think so if you really look at the numbers last year, I mean, I think the idea that maybe M Life is dragging it down a little bit is borne out. So just to each quarter, looking at the quarter-over-quarter numbers for Borgata in 2017. So they were up, and these are Q1 2017 versus Q1 2016. So in quarter one, they were up 8.5%. In quarter two, they were up almost 8%. In quarter three, they were up almost 3%. And then in quarter four, they were down 1%. So it's not necessarily a great trend, and that does kind of have some, that is the timing of M Life starting to come in and make themselves known, I guess.
Yeah, I think the transition was in June, so we're talking right at the end of Q2. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that plays out. So it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see. Yeah, I think that's going to be maybe, if you're like us and you're interested in the numbers, I think that's sort of the story to watch for 2018 is, of course, how does it look for Ocean and Hard Rock? Is Ocean doing significantly better than Revel did, which, I mean, shouldn't take much, right? Is Hard Rock coming in and really competing with, I don't know if that it's going to go straight to $50 million a month and competing with Borgata, although, maybe that's what it's shooting for, although I'd be really surprised. But, are they being really successful? But I think there is a real storyline here of, like, Borgata's already sort of showing these signs. Are they going to start getting their market, taken from them?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, there is also a lot of variability in the month-over-month data. So,
right. That's true.
But I do think... So my predictions are going to be... I think Tropicana and Resorts are probably both going to be up year over year, and I'm not necessarily comfortable saying that about any other property. I mean, I think at least with the amount of money that's being put into Tropicana right now, it'd be a pretty big disaster if they weren't.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that places like, obviously, Bally's, I mean, we've talked a lot about how we don't think Bally's is necessarily long for the world, at least the Park Place. I mean, Harrah's has been a pretty consistent disappointment the last few years, and maybe in some place like Golden Nugget might get hurt a little bit. Like, those are the main places I'd look for to be maybe kind of big losers in this whole thing. But honestly, if like we want to talk, like my prediction for the biggest disappointment of 2018 is probably going to be Ocean.
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, that's probably the safest bet.
I think, I haven't seen anything to this point that makes me believe it's not going to be Revel 2.0.
So, well, I mean, we just haven't seen very much about it at all. But
right, that's the point.
How about this as a
right? There's zero buzz about it, right? There's like a palpable buzz about Hard Rock.
Yes, absolutely.
There's nothing about Ocean, and this is exactly what happened with the Revel. And the Revel's gaming numbers were embarrassing.
Yeah, they were really bad. What about Caesars? I mean, I feel like we just sort of gloss over Caesars because it's the best CET property there. It's Caesars. It has the name recognition. But, we talk about the lack of money getting put into Bally's, and Caesars as sort of, I mean, I just said if they made all these updates to look like Horseshoe, it would be a way nicer casino. So right now, it's the second nicest casino. It's the nicest casino on the boardwalk. But it's still not really like all that nice. Like there's tons of room for improvement there that they're not putting money into. If Hard Rock comes in and is very nice and does a lot of things that people like about Caesars in terms of, it's on the boardwalk, if it has good gambling, lots of tables, sort of a similar vibe potentially, like could Caesars really get hurt? I mean, I sort of never even considered it because it's just like Caesars, everybody goes to Caesars, but they're second in a way that two people could wedge between them and Borgata.
Yeah.
And push them all the way down to where they're like, all of a sudden they're in the middle of the pack. And that'd be horrible for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, right now, honestly, if you look at the revenue, they're fourth in Atlantic City. And it's not especially, like, it's a pretty big gap between them and third, which is Tropicana. And I fully expect that gap to grow next year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that CET has kind of made a decision a few years ago that they're going to put all of their money into Harrah's. I mean, it was owned by the not bankrupt arm of the CET financial shell game. And that's I think, been a failure so far. And CET's been kind of Caesars has been kind of overlooked by the mothership. And I think it is possible that they could end up getting hurt pretty badly too.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, I think they've sort of made their choice to not invest a ton in the market, in the AC market. So
yeah, no, I mean they have invested quite a bit into Harrah's, but they certainly made the decision not to invest in Caesars and Bally's.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Should we move on to Golden Nugget Players Club info? There's a whole lot to say about it. I mean, just it has a unified players club. That's good for players in general. Better than not having a unified players club.
Yeah, it's far better. I mean, it's always been kind of ridiculous, I think, that they, it is the same company that owns all these Golden Nugget casinos. Just the list for those interested. There's obviously the Nugget in Vegas, the Nugget in AC. There's one in Laughlin, one in Biloxi, and one in Lake Charles, Louisiana. And they are now all sharing the Players Club data. It's just a single account now. So, I mean, it's pretty nice that this has happened. And I know we talked about last episode, in our Best of 2017 episode, that a big reason when I moved back to the East Coast that I started playing very heavily with CET is at the time, and for a long time, that was the only property in Atlantic City that had Vegas, it was tied to Vegas. So you could get Vegas comps for playing in Atlantic City. When I lived here before I moved out west, I played at the Hilton a lot and got comps at the Las Vegas Hilton. Now that both of those are long, long since defunct, it was only CET for a long time after that. And, now in the last year, there's Borgata where you can get, obviously M Life, and there's the Nugget now. So certainly good for players. And it's great to have another option where if you're just looking to play in Atlantic City and get some comps occasionally in Las Vegas, it's another option for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, like, for me, like, I don't have any interest at all in going to Laughlin. I don't really care about Biloxi. Like, that's just probably never going to happen to me. For me, Lake Charles, Louisiana, none of that really means anything to me. So, and then typically, I probably wouldn't. I've only ever stayed downtown except for one night at Hard Rock in Vegas. But, I mean, I've only ever stayed on the Strip except for one night at Hard Rock. So, looking at, like, well, this is downtown Vegas. This is the marina in AC, which, obviously Borgata's at the marina. Most people don't sort of see that as a stigma, but I prefer to stay at the boardwalk. I don't think the Unified Club really does a whole lot to me. It's just sort of like, of course, like, why did this take so long? Of course you should do this. Like, it's better than not having a Unified Players Club. I think where you really get value out of this one is that you can use your points at Landry's Restaurants, which is a giant chain. They have over 600 locations. It's a ton of chains, Chart House, Vic and Anthony's, Rainforest Cafe, Dos Caminos, Joe's Crab Shack, McCormick and Schmick's, Morton's, our favorite Bill's Bar and Burger. So, and it's just way more than that. So, if you are...
The Jungle Grill.
Yes, a.k.a. the Jungle Grill. My favorite of them all. College Park, Maryland. If you play at Golden Nugget, and if you're just an AC Vegas person, and you play at Golden Nugget in AC, you go stay at Golden Nugget downtown, which is by all accounts the sort of most proper resort downtown in Vegas. You now get comps at either place. So, if all you care about is going to AC and going to Vegas, you can do that. And you've got all these restaurant credits, basically, that you can use at nice restaurants throughout the country. I mean, debatable how nice Rainforest Cafe is, but the other ones are fairly nice. So, yeah, I mean, that's a nice perk. I don't think it's enough to get me to play there. Like, it doesn't make me say, like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go to play at Nugget now. But, if I was already a Golden Nugget player, I'd be like, hell yeah, this is great.
Yeah, I mean, I think... Like I said, it only can be a good thing.
Yeah.
So it's exciting that this has happened, and we'll see what ends up happening with Hard Rock. I expect them not to be linked with the Las Vegas property, unfortunately, because it's owned by a different company. But that'll bring in another casino that will probably be linked to a lot of other casinos around the country.
Yeah, so if you want to go to, Tampa or something,
yeah,
you'll have the option.
You can go to the Seminole Casino.
The Rock-Cino in Ohio or whatever it is.
So,
or you can also get gas.
I have to say, did you know, Craig, that I have stayed at the Grand Biloxi in Biloxi?
I did not know that.
Did I ever tell you that?
I didn't know that you'd even been to Biloxi.
Do you know which chain runs the Grand Biloxi?
I mean, I would guess MGM, but I don't know.
False. It's CET.
Really?
Yeah.
CET.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It was a very nice place. I mean, this was 2007 that I stayed there, I think. It was right after Katrina, so Biloxi itself was a bit depressing still, but it was nice.
Cool. So do you have a strong desire to go back? Now you're going to go play at Golden Nugget because you really want to go to the Golden Nugget Biloxi?
I've been to, I used to live in Arizona, so I've driven through Laughlin. It was not the most direct route, but I decided just to swing through it and see it at some point, and it looks like a pretty little town, too, right on a river.
So what you're saying is you're Golden Nugget all the way now.
I don't think I want to go to Lake Charles, necessarily, but, Golden Nugget all the way.
How dare you disparage Lake Charles, Louisiana?
You can... find me at the what is it, the dock? What was the bar we went to at Golden Nugget?
Oh yeah, the deck.
The deck, yes. The deck with the dock.
Yes, indeed, with the marina.
All right. So I don't have much else to say. Just good for players. There's another option.
Yeah, sure.
So
knock out these last two news items.
And you can knock them out real quick and get out of here. So. We have Gordon Ramsay Steak is replacing the steakhouse at Harrah's. So much like Guy Fieri, Gordon Ramsay feels like he's getting left behind and needs to up his number of restaurants and CET properties, and is doing that. So sounds like they're planning for a Memorial Day weekend opening. So where is the steakhouse at Harrah's, Craig?
I do not even know. I'm the wrong person to ask. I don't know. I've never seen it. I've walked all around that property. I can't figure it.
It's probably up on the second floor.
Like above the Eden Lounge or whatever.
Because I don't
That's my
go
guess.
up there a whole lot. And I think I would have seen it if it was on the first floor.
That would certainly be my guess, because I've never been up there. And, Yeah. That's also where Martirano's is, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Let's go with that. Yeah, it's upstairs on that second floor above Eden Lounge, Kyle. I've been there 10 times.
And if that's incorrect, please tweet at Craig at DoForWin and send him emails at doforwin@gmail.com.
Yeah. So, I mean, it certainly gets way better reviews than 2017 Do for Win Most Overrated Restaurant, Gordon Ramsay Pub and Grill at Caesars.
I think you were going to say it gets way better reviews than our podcast.
It's way better reviews than our podcast? Probably.
Yes.
Oh, it's
way better reviews than Do for a Win.
Yeah. I mean, the one in Vegas I know is like widely considered one of the best steakhouses in Vegas. I know it's 4 stars on Yelp. I know 500 loves it. Specifically loves the beef Wellington, I think. So I know, they have the beef Wellington at Gordon Ramsay Pub and Grill. I'm going to say it's not the same without any actual information to back that up.
Uh-huh.
So it's funny, we talked about Horseshoe Baltimore. They just opened a Gordon Ramsay steak at Horseshoe Baltimore in late November. Also 4 stars on Yelp, only 13 reviews so far, but it seems like people really like it. So
yeah, I know Daryl McEwen has said he really liked it because he came down for the opening, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. It seems like definitely liked considerably better than the Pub and Grill. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a good addition. Although people seem to like the generic The Steakhouse at Harrah's, but yeah, I mean, Caesar's is all in on the Gordon Ramsay thing.
Gordon Ramsay and Guy Fieri are their ticket for the future.
The G's, all the G's, Gordon and Guy. I expect to see Gordon and Guy's steak and donkey sauce, whatever special. Sounds disgusting.
Don't
beef Wellington and donkey sauce. I can't imagine Gordon Ramsay lending his name to that. Like, there's just no way he would allow that to happen. Be yelling all sorts of F-bombs and stuff. It'd be great. Actually, now I want to see that.
Calling people donkeys.
Yes, that's true.
It's similar. All right.
Now I need to see that happen. I need to see Gordon Ramsay berate Guy Fieri while he's making donkey sauce. I need it. UFC fights. We talked about how there's never any fights at Boardwalk Hall. That's not true anymore.
Yeah.
For one night only.
Normally that's how long usually it's not a multi-day.
Right, but like, it's not like this is the start of
this isn't Rome
where
it's not like a week of fights.
No, but I'm saying it's not like, oh yeah, there's 2 boxing matches, nights and 3 UFC fights. Like, no, this is one thing. Hopefully it's the start of a trend, but yeah, UFC Fight Night will be at Boardwalk Hall on April 21st. This was just announced today. I'll link to the Nicholas Hula article. But, no lineups announced or anything. You know more about UFC than I do, but my understanding is they actually don't even get the lineups out until closer to the date.
They're probably going to have some fights coming out on it within the next month, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I say closer to the date, but it's February.
Yeah.
We're talking 2.5 months here.
No, it'll be pretty soon they get stuff out. As far as I know. I mean, there was a time in my life where MMA was like my main hobby, but unfortunately those days are long since past.
I could care less about MMA. I don't, it's too violent for my liking.
Mm-hmm.
I can't see people kicking each other in the face.
It just makes you queasy.
It does make me queasy. I'm very weak stomach.
Yeah,
can't deal with blood at all. It doesn't help that everybody who I know who likes MMA, like every highlight they want to show me is like, watch this dude break his leg over this guy's face. It's like, that's the last thing I want to see. If you want to see me faint, that's something you could show me a video. But it's funny because that being said, I'm like, it's probably a cool atmosphere to go to Boardwalk Hall and see a UFC fight.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who like I said, MMA was a pretty big part of my life for a while, and there's nothing cooler than going to a live MMA show. Yeah. I mean, it's really a good time.
So hopefully this is a huge success and they have more of it, and then that entices promoters and whoever to bring back more boxing matches, which is something I actually would go see at Boardwalk. Which I say, although we had the chance to go to that boxing match the night
instead,
I hit the...
you got a royal flush.
Yeah, instead I got a royal flush and went to Continental and ate delicious wasabi mashed potatoes.
They were good.
They were very good.
So are you telling me that we're not going to go to the UFC Fight Night in April?
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. I will not be at the UFC Fight Night in April.
What the hell, man?
You got to have some UFC loving friends who can go to UFC Fight Night.
Maybe. I'd love to do it. Maybe I'll try to get up there. I don't know if that would be allowed. Back-to-back months going to Atlantic City, that would make me question what I'm doing on this podcast.
What? Wrong.
Because I thought it's our thing not to go to AC.
It is sort of our thing.
It would be too much AC going.
Wasn't that our resolution?
That was my resolution.
You wanted to go more often. I wanted to just play the same 2 games I always play at the casino. I think that was the resolution.
I'm doing a 2-day trip in March, and it's going to be great.
Yeah. I look forward to a full trip report while I try to get a crying baby to go to sleep.
Yeah, that's true. We need to figure out how long you think you're going to be out, and we can talk about it off air. But
I think 5-6 days, and then I'm right back in action.
Well, I thought my leave was going to be a lot shorter than it actually was, so we'll see. I think that brings us to our next point. We'll ask for this on the Facebook group as well, but we probably do want to put together another mailbag episode to play when Craig goes out later this month, just to have something in the chute. And I'm going to try to at least put together 1 episode while Craig's out, if not 2, maybe. I think it might be a bit jarring for you all, especially if Craig is not available to edit either, and I'm in charge of that, because it will be, the do for wins you hear now are in Craig's voice. He's the one that writes up the outline. He's the one that edits it all together and decides what you actually hear at the end of the day. So,
also literally in Craig's voice, in that I'm the one who talks.
He talks 95% of the time. So it might be a little bit different for a couple episodes if I do end up putting stuff together. But I do want to get some content out, hopefully, while Craig is on his do for win paid paternity leave.
Yeah, paid paternity leave. It's very generous here.
Yeah.
We're all also paying into a sweet pension. Yeah, it's fully funded.
Our benefits package is pretty progressive.
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah.
Anything else?
So anyway, yeah, just send us some mailbag questions and we'll ask for them on the Facebook group as well.
Yeah, probably not the best if they're like, I'm going tomorrow. What do I, tell me what to do?
Because this is going to be posted at the earliest in early March, middle of March. So
yeah, so give us, think about what you want what you have questions about for a month from now. I think it's probably the way to think about it, because I think it was it Nick who asked some questions and we got to him 3 months later.
Well, I hear that there's some 5-month-old emails that you haven't answered. We can always answer them on the air too.
Yeah, there's only 1 now. I answered all but 1.
That's good.
Yeah, it's not that good.
Honestly, I can't complain because I do 0 work at all in this podcast ever. So it's going to be a pretty rude awakening for me while you're out.
That's a good point. It's going to be a rude awakening for everybody who sends emails and doesn't get a reply.
Yeah.
Which is only slightly different than what they get now.
Right. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we close shop?
Yeah, let's get out of here.
But if we wait 5 more minutes, I'm going to win our bet.
Nope.
We guys make an over-under bet of when we think it's going to end. And unfortunately, Craig's going to be right. But
for the first time. I always go under and I'm always wrong. By my own doing. It's my own fault every single time. Yeah.
You sure you don't have anything else to say?
Got nothing.
All right. So if you want to reach out to us and any of the other listeners, you can do so at our Facebook group at facebook.com/group/do4a-win. You can find all of our great content, including about Resorts World in New York and the amazing pull tab slot machines they have there at doforawin.com. That may have been something we talked about before the episode. Our awesome blog posts 3 years before our show came out. You can find our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn Radio, and once again, YouTube. You can reach out to Craig on Twitter at DoForAWin or send them questions at doforawin@gmail.com.
Hey, name my kid, Kyle. That's what we should have done. Listener poll. Name my kid. Caesar Stone. Borgata Stone. Revel 10 Ocean Stone.